Hi, I'm Matt, here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. This week, Matt and I are taking a look at the latest Marvel MCU based television series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is the second after the recent WandaVision, which we've already done a review on, so make sure to go check that out. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier stars Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Wyatt Russell, Aaron Kellyman, Daniel Bruhl, and Emily Van Camp. It was created by Malcolm Spellman, who was the co-executive producer of Empire and is slated to be the writer of Captain America 4. Every episode, all 6 of them, was directed by Kerry Skoglund, who's also directed episodes of The Walking Dead, Handmaid's Tale, and Marvel's own The Punisher. But before we get into this, make sure if you like this video that you give it a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe and ring that bell icon so you always know when we're uploading our latest videos.
Now, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier takes place 6 months after the events of Avengers Endgame. Series takes a look at how 2 of the people closest to Captain America are moving forward without him and try to fill the void that he's left behind in this new world. Now, this is a 6-episode series with a budget about $150 million. Now, so far it's received about average reviews from critics and audiences. Randall, I'll let you have the first go at this new show on Disney+. What do you think of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I think that it tries to pack a little bit too much into the series, and at the same time as trying to pack too much into the series is maybe too long for 6 episodes. It's a weird dynamic. They put a whole bunch into it, and there's a lot of fun, interesting, cool things going on, and some, things that might be divisive to fans. But at the same time, I'm not sure that it needed to be 6 episodes long. It might have been able to be encompassed into a well-written movie. But, opinions vary. So, Matt, what's your opinion about The Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Me, I thought this was a pretty fun show to watch. Though I don't know that this was one of those shows that's like, hey, I gotta watch each episode. Like, I don't know that there's enough in this movie where it's like, hey, I can't wait till next one. I gotta see the next one. Hey, I can't wait. I gotta see the next one too. And I kind of agree with you too. Me personally, I'm glad that it's a show, but I think a lot of this could be handled in a movie. But I do like that we're taking these different elements too instead of, hey, we're just having another movie. We're just having a movie. I like that we're also doing shows. And it's kind of interesting. This is like a mini series. And there's some elements of this in the story, like some issues that I think we could have taken deeper looks that would encompass more than a 6-episode things. But at the same time, too, some of the base storyline stuff, I agree, we could have handled in just like one episode, like long episode or movie kind of thing. So yeah, I think I'm with you there on that.
It wants to deep dive some of these topics, but there's not enough time to deep dive those kind of subplot topics, while at the same time, the main plot line could have easily been done in less time than what we had. And it's hard. I don't want to say it's bad because it's not bad. I enjoyed watching it, but there were times where I'm like, well, God, if we could just go down that subplot a little bit deeper, then it could warrant its runtime. Because this main plot with the flag smashers and everything that's going on post Endgame could have been done way faster than it was. It's got me split, and that sucks. But at the same time, I'm gonna heap praise on all of the actors. Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie do a fantastic job in this, and I am not going to leave out Wyatt Russell, who is starting to show his father's chops, man.
Even like Zemo, man, Zemo's like villain in this whole Marvel series and stuff. But he might be one of my favorite characters in this. I think he has some of the best parts in this. But yeah, I agree. Some of the things about the Falcon and Winter Soldier show that I kind of see with like WandaVision 2 is that for half of it, we have like one type of show. And then for the other half, it's like a completely different show. And yeah, I think we have a lot of these different elements that I think could be expanded on and done better. I just don't know how well it all meshes together, like, in this show. Some of those elements that you were talking about with, like, the flag smashers and stuff, it's a good, I think, continuation of some of the previous Marvel movies that we've seen. It does a good job of taking that storyline and expanding on it. And then at the same time, too, the other elements that we're talking about, I think we get a good look into, like, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, their backstories, how they're personally affected, the personal challenges they have to do. Like, how do they go on now with their friend Captain America no longer around, that they can interact with and stuff? How do they fill that void and stuff of him missing? And what is their role now in this new world?
Yeah, and it's interesting because WandaVision takes place really close to the end, or well, right after Endgame. Really, really close. They call it the honeymoon period. This takes place a little bit further out. You're past the honeymoon period, and now we're like, all right, how are the world governments dealing with the fallout from the snap and then the blip? And how are our heroes dealing with it? And in this one, it gives you a little bit more where, like in WandaVision, I was like, hey, this is stupid. An Avenger would show up, you know? In this one, I'm like, well, okay, wait a minute. Tony's gone, Black Widow's gone, and Captain America is not here, air quotes. I still can't believe that Steve Rogers just died after 6 months or something like that, but whatever. I'm like, okay, so who is the Avenger who would help in this scenario? And really, it's like, okay, that would be Sam. Now Bucky's here and he's supportive and trying to be supportive of Sam in his own little way, and Sam is here and trying to be supportive of Bucky in his own little way. Yeah, this world that they've created is much, much more dynamic than like all of the Phase movies before it, where at least all the superheroes and everything like fit together in those movies. Now we're starting to expand on that, and we're like, all right, let's open up these storylines to this greater world that we've made and start exploring some of the repercussions. I'm totally down for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we're also really going more into relationships, which I think is really good too. Like before, we had our Avengers together because, generally they had these big baddies that they needed to come together and even fight, whether, it's Thanos or, some of the other ones that we've had too. Where this is more, we have, lesser villains kind of thing, and we can expand more on like, individual relationships, like Wanda and Vision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and even some other movies like Spider-Man and Tony Stark, like what Tony Stark meant to Spider-Man. So I like these kind of things that we're going on in this direction. Be interested to see what big baddie or whatever we have in the future to bring our characters back together. But I like that we're able to look at these different things now.
Yeah, and side note, the part of the conclusion of this takes place in New York, but it's convenient that it takes place about the same time that Far From Home takes place, and Spider-Man is not in New York. So you're like, oh, okay, at least there's an explanation for why Spider-Man's not helping. He's not here. Like, okay, that was well done. Good job. Good thinking. But I want to talk about a particular character real quick. The new Captain America, John Walker. I think he got the short end of the stick, but it was all for plot-driven purposes that he got the short end of the stick. It's weird to me that Sam and Bucky didn't really give him that much of a good chance, really. Like early on, they're just jaded by the fact that the government gave the shield away. I'm like, what do you expect the government to do? Sam, keep it in the Smithsonian? No. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? He might not be the right person to take up all the responsibility of Captain America, but Sam and Bucky didn't help him in that either. And that bugged me early on in the series.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think, like you said, John Walker, I think, is an excellent character in this. It's kind of weird. It's like, I'm going through this, like, well, am I supposed to look at him as more of a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Because, he is an Avenger and stuff, in like the comics and stuff. And he is kind of like that differently character. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, too, it's a good catalyst to help us look into those, Falcon and Winter Soldier characters that we were talking about. Just to see, like, their reaction to John Walker, like the government and who they chose to be Captain America and who should be Captain America. And it also goes into, like, why is it important for us to have a Captain America? Like, what should they embody? And I think that's really good. I think John Walker kind of, epitomizes that look that, the people in power, whatever, the military, whoever want the face of America to be kind of thing. And then at the same time, too, what image should we have, kind of America be? What, not necessarily what we are, but what we aspire to be kind of thing. I think this show takes a good look at that, and I think John Walker being the catalyst for that, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, and obviously, if you're a Marvel fan and you know anything about the comics, or if you just want to go online and figure it out, he ends up becoming U.S. agent, which is fine and interesting and a different take. And I'm happy that we're gonna hopefully see his character more. Honestly, even if he's not necessarily, it's like a gray zone character. He's not necessarily a good guy, but he's definitely not a bad guy either. At least not right now. Depending on the comic strain that you you read, because they're all over the place. I'm super happy with this character. I'm very happy with Wyatt Russell's portrayal of the character, and shame on those toxic fans for doing what they did to that poor man. I'm sure his father, who's by the way is Kurt Russell, was just like, oh yeah, you're gonna get hate for this. Like he must have known. He's been in the game a long time, so it's fun. It was a good take. But you mentioned very, very coyly, we're gonna talk about, hey, what does America actually look like? And this series takes a look at that with Sam's character, and they come out and they say it straight, and they say there will never be a black Captain America.
I think it's good. It kind of, takes a look at those social issues and stuff. And that's part of the thing. I think that was one of those things that I think we could have looked more into on this. But I think the show does a decent job and stuff on that. And we were talking about these different characters. I like what we've done with these characters enough to set them up for the future. There's going to be more stuff with these characters, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing more stuff with these characters. So if that was the main goal of this show, was to get you ready for other stuff, then that was a success for me, because I do want to see more of these characters.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I love the way the series ends, and it does leave me just wanting more with these characters. All of these characters, except for how they did dirty to Carter's character. I didn't like the way they did that, but I'm not going to spoil that, and maybe you are okay with that. But it at least makes sense what they did with her character. So, but you know what? The thing is, I agree 100%. They should have went deeper, or they could have went deeper with some of those. Let's just call them pain points of life in the United States, in particular right now. And with the character Isaiah Bradley, they definitely touch on it. He was a super soldier back in the Vietnam era, and it's just like, well, yeah, but he was a black man, so they couldn't propagandize that, or they wouldn't propagandize that, the U.S. government. So it definitely touches on some hard subjects, and I'm okay with that. I think that that's okay. And the fact that in the real world, in our flesh and blood actual world, there are people out there, like actual people, who are probably sitting there thinking, "Oh, Black Captain America," like legitimately, not just controversially, just legitimately. How could someone black be Captain America? Shame on you too.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Even with kind of like the Winter Soldier stuff, I do like how we kind of look at some of his personal problems with him and stuff. That's another element that we attach to in this thing, and how he actually, deals with everything that he's done. So I think that was handled really well. Honestly, we were talking about how, the Flag Smashers of it could have been done in like a movie. I don't know that I really enjoyed that much as well. I think there's some elements to that it goes on. I think that the Flag Smashers is trying to hint at different things that are going on in our world today. I think that stuff is okay, but I don't know that it really too much worked for me. I think that's part of the thing that I think why we did this in like a show as opposed to a movie. I don't know. What do you think more about those Flag Smashers?
So the Flag Smashers are interesting because they're not villains. In all of the comics, movies, for the most part, we have villains, and they're just clearly villains for like the Obadiah Shane. Maybe he's a little bit black and gray, but then at the very end, he's still a villain, basically. The Flag Smashers aren't exactly villains, and I 100% agree. They're just making parallels to our real world scenarios. Like, hey, we could make these changes. We could do this. You're the strongest, most powerful governments in the world, and your decisions with like pens affect billions of people. And here you are, just like squabbling about things like borders and things that aren't really that important, basically. This talks about that. So the Flag Smashers all together kind of make a character, but it's all in the service of the plot. So that way Sam can give an awesome speech at the end. In all honesty, um, and it's fine. I'm okay with that. Like that's I lean towards that direction for anyone who's watched this for long enough. So I'm okay with it. It's maybe not the villain that you want.
Heck, I mean, like I was saying, Zemo. I mean, Zemo is villain in previous Avengers, and yet he's semi-villain, but working with the good guys in this, and I really like Zemo stuff. But yeah, talking about making leaders accountable and different stuff, and this movie definitely wants to be like transparency. The whole, I think in actuality, I highly doubt that Captain America would actually be able to have a conversation with world leaders like that in front of reporters and everyone watching and
Hey,
everything.
he didn't leave them any choice. Okay, he didn't pick the venue, man.
Oh man, politicians are good at changing the subject and everything and getting a no comment kind of thing, or oh, I'll look into that more kind of thing, as opposed to actually engaging with that. But no, for the storyline, the purpose of that, I'm glad that they showed that kind of thing. That's kind of our way, instead of just exposition dump, that we actually have that back and forth between these characters to tell that story.
I'm going to get into one thing that's spoilery for the end. So if you don't want any spoilers, please don't listen. And, skip to the very end here, which are in the timestamps. Check for the outro. But there is one thing that I want to talk about, and that is the new suit that the Wakandans make for Sam. There's one thing about it that bugs me. I love the design. I guess the shoulders are a little bit puffy, but whatever. I just don't understand why they didn't give him a little bit more oomph, a little bit more grunt to go with it. Like, they have all this technology, like, Bucky's vibranium arm, for example, or the Black Panther technology, the suit. And I'm not saying that you had to, like, make the suit that you gave Sam, like, a Black Panther suit, but basically it's just, a Captain America Falcon suit. And I'm like, no. You guys could have given a little bit more oomph to give him a little bit more of an edge.
Yeah, I agree with you too on that one. That was my first reaction too, especially since we have the build up to it. It's kind of like Pulp Fiction, where they open up the chest or whatever, and you get the glow. I mean, that's the vibe I got at the end of episode 5. But yeah, when I saw that too, I'm like, what? I was expecting a little bit more of I mean, we know Wakanda made it, because I think Wakanda is a country that actually would be able to make that like real quick and everything. We don't necessarily have like Tony Stark, but yeah, I agree. It doesn't like feel like it came from Wakanda. I don't know if they just were like, the show were just like, all right, well, we're gonna have Wakanda make it because it makes sense, I guess, for the storyline kind of thing. But yeah, we want to keep the look as close to like Captain America and what it'd look like if they made like another suit for Captain America. I don't really know about that. I don't think that really it doesn't match what I was thinking or whatever for like the build up, I think is what it is.
What I thought it was going to be was more Wakanda in make, when Bucky says, "Hey, I need to ask one last favor of you," and then he brings the case and everything. Now Sam needs to go toe to toe with superheroes, with super soldiers basically, and he needs a little bit of an edge to do that. He's put in the work himself. They have a whole montage of him putting in the work. At the very end, it's just, oh, it's the Falcon suit, except for in Captain America garb. Okay, well that's a little bit anticlimactic, although I still enjoyed all of the action scenes and everything with it. It's just like, you have this scene where he gives up his old Falcon wings, which in the comics, to a character who does end up becoming the Falcon. And you're like, all right, he's walking away from that to become Captain America, which is awesome. But then his suit is just the Falcon in USA Stars and Stripes. Well, that's not so exciting.
Especially too, I don't think Wakanda made like his original one either, and it's kind of weird that like even like Red Wing is the exact same as what he had before. And that's a part of an element where you would think like, hey, the Wakandans would improve on that, make it more situated, where instead of like, hey, we're just gonna recreate everything that Sam had before, just in a different paint job. So yeah, I agree with you. I was disappointed in that part.
All right, that's the end. That's the big spoiler that I want to talk about. That was one of my biggest disappointments of the series, aside from not diving into some of these divisive objects. So, all right, that's good. Past that.
Rita, I thought this was a pretty good show, pretty entertaining, even though, like I said, I don't think it's one that I needed to see the next episode. But, like I pointed out too, it makes me ready for the next stuff, whether that be a, Captain America Winter Soldier movie coming up, or if we have another show that continues the storyline with these characters. I'm all for it, especially for a different bad guy it looks like we're setting up for this too.
Yep, definitely. I thought this was a pretty good show. Maybe not quite as enjoyable as the WandaVision outing, and could have potentially been made into a movie, but pandemic, it makes sense to make it into a show. I'm super happy that it moves the MCU story forward and starts concentrating really specifically on the characters.
Well, Randall and I want to know what you guys think about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to go to our YouTube page to check out some of our other videos. We got new movie reviews, flashback video reviews. We also take a look at other TV shows and have deeper dive discussions.
We also have a Facebook page. Make sure to check us out there if you have not. We post the day before, whatever we're going to be posting on YouTube the next day. We post new videos every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Randall here in Texas. I'll see everyone next time.
And I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day, everyone. Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.